Jade here, Wretch. We are here today to do our board-to-board fireside chat. Thank you everyone for signing up and joining us today. I'm looking forward to having this conversation. Just as a background of Monte Jade, Monte Jade was founded in 1989 by Asian immigrants. They bonded together to support one another because they were under-networked and under-resourced. And through this community, billions of dollars of enterprise value was created and hundreds of companies were formed. And even today, we are focused on building community. Today, we do this under three pillars. The first pillar for us is interview series such as this, where we bring together and celebrate notable community leaders and really understand their journey and how they overcame a lot of challenges to really get to where they are today in their career. And the whole idea is to allow this next generation of leaders to also connect to great leaders as well. The second pillar for us is technology forums. We try to bring new technology and new advances in the certain technologies to our community so they can discover new opportunities either for investment, to advance their careers. And recently we've held talks on numerous different types of opportunities. Upcoming, we've got a great one on some innovation in the semiconductor space. So please join us. This will be in August the 27th in a few more weeks. And it'll be great to see you guys all there at that event as well. The last pillar for us, what I believe, what I have the most passion around is our mentorship program. This is a fully volunteer-run program which focuses on building the skill sets of our next generation leaders. Eastern Asians are underrepresented in the leadership of many Bay Area technology companies. And today we continue to lag our peers in being promoted. So white males are promoted at 2 times the pace of Asian males to become leaders within their organizations, and white females are promoted at 3 times the rate of that of our Asian females. So it is a problem, and this disparity has gotten worse over the last 20 years, not better. And so this 6-month-long mentorship program focuses on education and deep engagement for mentees to help them address some of the challenges moving upstream. We are just starting our open houses, so if you have any questions, please visit our website at montejade.org and you can see some of the details. We would love to see you at the program today. If you know friends or family that would be interested in a program like this as well, please send them our way as well, and we'd love to have a conversation with them. At this time, I want to thank our sponsors. Helen, could you pull up our sponsor slide?
Yes.
These annual sponsors, namely UMC and Deloitte, and our gold sponsors, ASE, Lehman, Netgear, VenturePack Law, Wintec, Yvonne May Corporation, and China Airlines, along with all our silver sponsors, are the reason why we exist today and why we can continue to operate and bring numerous different events to our community. We thank them for their ongoing support, and we wouldn't be here without them. And so thank you very much. At this time, I get to introduce Wretch. Wretch is a principal partner out with AME Cloud Ventures. He's got a wonderful career that we're going to go through in a little bit, founding his own business, exiting to Yahoo, and then transitioning to the venture world. So I get to welcome a good friend, Wretch. Welcome. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Z, and thanks, Monte, for hosting this. I'm very glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So I want to kind of start off with your background and your career. So you grew up in Taiwan, is that correct? And
yeah,
so tell us about.
Born and raised in Taiwan.
Born and raised in Taiwan. Now, I'm really curious, like, as you were growing up in Taiwan, you eventually went to school. Where did you go to school? And then why did you choose that university system at that time?
Yeah. So like I say, I was born and raised in Taiwan. I grew up in a small town called Daxi, which is very close to the Taiwan International Airport. It's a very famous, beautiful town, known for the resting place for late president of Chiang Kai-shek and Chiang Ching-kuo. Yeah, so pretty small town. I pretty much went to all the friendly neighborhood public school, and I only left town until I stayed in the small town until I went to college in Hsinchu in Jiao Tong University, which is known for the incubation talents for the industrial park in Taiwan, which is supply a lot of talents for Taiwan semiconductor industry.
That's great. And so is that what you wanted to do from like childhood? Like, I want to go here and support the semiconductor industry and industrial industry. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah. That's how I heard. That's where you can get the money. So well, joking aside, my goal wasn't become an entrepreneur, right? So my goal, I was raised by single mothers. My goal is only I get good score, I get to top school, and semiconductor is a very big industry in Taiwan. Everybody know if you wanna kind of help your family improve, financially, you have to get to semiconductor industry. So that was my goal actually. But I ended up choosing computer science as my major because my hobby, right? So I kind of make a trade-off, right? On the one hand, I know where the money is, semiconductor, but on the other hand, I was dreaming to become a game designer, and I thought, being a programmer is one way to do it, right? So I kind of decided computer science as my major while I was kind of paving my way in Jiao Tong University to become a engineer in semiconductor industry.
So the most important question is, what games were you playing at that time?
Wow. So I got my first computer, I still remember, in high school because I got very good grades. So my mother gave me a gift. I remember it's a Acer Aspire, right?
Okay.
Yeah, the Acer was still very big in Taiwan. Like first PC, I was very excited. So first thing you can do if you got a PC as a boy, of course, you do a lot of video games. The first but before that, I already played a lot of console game. My personal favorite was Three Kingdom video game, like strategy games. Like kind of, you play as either one of this is a historical game, right? You can play one of the historical figure and try to conquer at least the mainland China.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That was my favorite.
Did when you transitioned from console to computer, did you ever play like StarCraft or like Quake, like what Counter-Strike, like kind of what era of gaming?
Yeah, StarCraft a little bit, and also Counter-Strike, but those are more require like real-time kind of reaction. My expertise is more like long-term strategic planning. So I play those games, but I find myself doing better in those like strategic or role-playing games. Those type of games that require some thinking and planning and kind of resources allocation.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll need to play some strategy game coming down. Like we have some more time. We'll like maybe play like a Dominion or a Catan or something. Love to see how you play.
Yeah, I stopped playing after I got too busy with my work and that kind of stuff. But I miss that. Yeah. So once my kids got into video games sometime soon, I hope I can go back.
That's amazing. So you're pro gaming for the next generation as well. So it's not shut it off.
No, I'm just postponing until my kids are allowed and get permission from their mother to play video game. Now I get an excuse. In order to watch them, I have to play with them. Right? That's my story for coming back.
That's amazing. So I'm gonna need to take some notes from you because my young one just turned 1 year old. So I got to figure out when I start playing video games with him.
Yeah.
Well, very good. So you went to computer science and you had some interest there, mainly from the gaming side. But what made you start, Wretch.cc? Because that seemed like instead of going into industry and like kind of going something like going down that path, you decided to create something on this, something different, something unique at that time. What drove you to start a business?
Yeah, like I said, it wasn't starting a company or even coming to America is never my life plan. My life plan is pretty simple. Just like every other kid in Taiwan, got good grades, graduated from top university, go to semiconductor, work for MediaTek or TSMC, right? So I chose computer science not because it's relevant to the semiconductor, but also I can keep it kind of as a hobby. So I don't really treat it as a kind of academic workload, right? So I do before Wretch.cc, I already built other tools. Actually, I kind of build it as a hobby. I like to create build tool for myself or for my friends. For example, right? So in college, I remember I wasn't very good in English, but a lot of textbook is all from America. So we have to read this like heavy English textbook. So I wrote an online dictionary initially for myself, and my friend found it very useful. I just opened it to it. I also I built a server, host kind of a bulletin board system that we can share tips for electives or choosing teachers, that kind of stuff. Eventually become like a tips for sharing how to date girls, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So Wretch.cc actually is a domain that I host since I got to college, and I built a lot of tools under Wretch.cc. So photo album just being blogging, micro blogging is just one of them. This was in 2003 or 2004, right? So when we got to graduate school, there's some things are happening were happening at that time. That's what we call inflection point. So the internet was kind of transition from Web 1.0 to 2.0. Means broadband is getting more popular. The cost of generating content by users are getting cheaper, right? The popular digital camera are getting more and more popular, right? So my friends are getting their digital camera, and they start to date girls. They went out on hike, they take a lot of photos, they come back, and the only way they can share them is just send over emails. And a lot of digital photo they share email. It's not easy to share with a group of people, right? Say, because they already see me kind of like a tool man, right? Kind of like a computer handyman, right? Whenever they find out something inconvenient, just come to me and say, can you write a tool that we can easily share, photos when we go hiking? Or can you, and their girlfriend will ask, I would like to write something like diary for our, between me and my boyfriend, can you write something that kind of like blogging? I said, oh, I heard of that idea. I saw some idea from the other side of the ocean Pacific. They have this like a blogging tool. So they asked me to write this kind of tool. So I just began writing it, and little did I know it get very popular, right? So my friends start to use it, their girlfriends start to use it, then their girlfriend break up with them, their girlfriend make new boyfriends, so their boyfriend start to use it. So it's kind of spread like wildfire, right? It kind of spread with this kind of between college, among college students, right? Among their kind of personal relationship, they start to spread word by word. So, and then photo album and for online photo sharing and microblogging, and Rest.cc kind of become the most popular Web 2.0 site in Taiwan.
So it went from a hobby helping people, but at a certain point, as it started to really explode, when did you realize you're like, oh crap, like this could be a business? Like, what was that inflection point for you? Did you figure that out? Did someone come to you? Like, what happened there?
Wow. So again, like I'm kind of a spontaneous guy, right? At that time, I was still studying for my master's degree, right? So if I get a master's degree, my starting salary will be higher at TSMC. That's my goal of studying master's degree. And so, but I have a lot of difficulty getting, progress in my study, right? I have a lot of trouble studying. So it's kind of, whenever I feel difficulty, I come back to my hobby. I keep improving the website. And the website just getting more and more popular. So at some point, and we still run on kind of donation base, right? We'll run some unused server from our departments. And at some point, like, it becomes so popular, donation cannot host it, right? One machine failed, the whole website kind of came down. And I was just feel relieved, because at some point I feel like, oh, there are so many requests to add function to a website. So I couldn't have enough time for studying. And I feel like I might not, I have this fear, like I might not get my master's degree at all, because I've been spending too much time on the website itself. So I kind of feel like relief the website shut down, right? And then the office for the university become call center. So a lot of users, they keep calling the university, say, hey, you have to bring this site back up. I have a lot of my asset on the website. A lot of teachers come in and say, I have my final exam on the website. You have to bring the website up. Otherwise, I'm going to sue you, right? So the university kind of come back to me and say, hey, you have to figure out a way to make this website live. I said, I cannot run this by donation. So I was figuring out like a couple ways, maybe start a foundation, ask for more donation, but those endeavors kind of fail. So eventually then I was approached by, I think one of the angel investors in Taiwan. And so he kind of gave me the idea that maybe just like if you read magazine, right? By that time, internet, I started an internet company, was very popular in America. So I kind of read one story or two. I kind of know who's Jerry Yang. So I said, okay, maybe I wasn't be that big, but maybe I can start, if I can raise some money and kind of start a business and try to at least try to make some money. Maybe the website can be self-sustainable, right? That was my goal of starting a company. Just bring the website back and make it self-sustainable so that I won't get sued. School don't get sued. So I can still go back and get my master's degree once it becomes self-sustainable. That was my original goal of starting a company, only because I already pursued some other nonprofit way, like starting a foundation, getting more donation. But as a student, I couldn't know how to run this nonprofit way. So starting a company with some, angel investors' interest, is already, at least to me, that's more approachable at that point.
Sure. So,
Yeah.
so you finally raised some seed capital to actually turn the website back on. At a certain point, this company continued to grow and continue to scale. At what point did Yahoo approach you and say like, hey, look, like you should join us? And what made you kind of take that leap and say, this makes much more sense?
Yeah. So when we raise some money, we start to turn on this kind of commercialization engine. It actually went much better than I thought, because at that time, internet industry was pretty overlooked in Taiwan. So all the best talents, like I say, they will go to semiconductor, or they will become doctor or become dentist, right? Starting in the companies at worse career you can choose, right? So and you're also going outside, you're going through this kind of inflection point of the whole industry. The world is changing, not only Taiwan. So then you have this new event of self-expression, starting of kind of social media, right? But no best talent is serving the market. So we are pretty much the only choice. So we kind of take over the market very quickly and start to disturb the market dynamics, because at that time, Yahoo was the kind of dominate internet player. They were setting the internet price, internet advertisement price in Taiwan, setting pretty much all the game rules. And now, out of nowhere, a group of people with no experience try to create a lot of user-generated content, which means very low cost page views, and start to disrupt their pricing power. So they start to get nervous, I guess, a little bit. Wow, but I mean, they approach me and they say, maybe we can start to collaborate. So maybe we can teach you how to play by the book, how to play the rules. Maybe we should figure out this some rule rather than just dumping those inventory to the market and kind of ruin the price. So we start talking. And at that time, I was also approached by a lot of investors from not only Taiwan, but also offshore, like some investors from China, some other investors from America. They were thinking, at that time, they were still thinking, if you want to go to China to have an internet business, maybe Taiwan could be your stepping stone, right? So they were approaching me, since you're doing so well in Taiwan, have you thought about bringing this business to China? I was actually invited to a couple business trips, like thinking about how to recreate or maybe bring Wretch.cc to China. So I was thinking about that option as well. So eventually the conversation with Yahoo went very deep, right? And at some point they decided, we already talked about ways we can work together, so many ways. If we can kind of combine our force, that'll be easier, right? So we don't need to have this like a firewall, like you don't trust me, I don't trust you, that kind of situation. And my plan at that time was like, okay, maybe what I can do, because I was visiting China for a few times. I know it's similar market, but it requires more than 100% commitment. So my plan was, maybe if I sell the business in Taiwan to Yahoo, then I can move to China and then be fully committed and fully immersed in China. So maybe I have a shot there. So that was my thinking, right? Kind of, I can have Yahoo babysit my business in Taiwan while I go to, because at the time Yahoo, they didn't have any business interest in China. So they're happy to, in the agreement, to sign that, I have full operational right in China. So that was my original plan. I can sell the Yahoo, babysit it, and then I go to China.
So the master plan didn't go as scheduled.
Yeah, as usual.
As usual, right? And so what kind of pulled you into like the US? Because I think that's the time when you actually decided to move to the US and help run the product for Yahoo, right? Like kind of what drove that for you?
Yeah, that's another kind of detour for me. So wasn't in my plan at all, because I still remember when we were negotiating the terms, the Yahoo sent their corporate development guy from the headquarters. I couldn't speak English at all with them. So I actually have to hire my lawyers and financial advisor, accountant. Part of the reason, because I need someone to translate for me, right? So there was never direct conversation. So I couldn't speak English. I need online dictionary for my college study at all. So I didn't plan to come to Silicon Valley. I didn't know about San Francisco, Bay Area, that kind of stuff, right? But after the acquisition, I think it's kind of their courtesies to invite the team that being acquired to visit their headquarters, so they can do their best to impress you. So you can hopefully they will stay with them for longer, right? So I was very impressed by, to be honest, right? So when I came to Yahoo, I see there's always a better way you can run things, right? The way they do marketing, the way they do cloud computing. People start to figure out how to build their own cloud. The way, and also very impressive that I never seen so many people, so many smart people from not only Americans, right, now from the movie, but from all over the world, right? I've seen people from Israel, from Turkey, from New York, from Mexico, from India, a lot of people from China as well. So I was pretty impressed. And even more impressed is even though they're already at a different level where we were playing in Taiwan. And in terms of market dynamics, that's the time I learned they are actually losing, right? Even though they are, to my standard, they are playing very well, but they are still losing business to newcomer like Facebook at that time, and also Google, right? Mm-hmm. So I was kind of curious of what the heck is this place, right? You have so many people working so hard and so smart, and there are other companies that are doing even better, right? So I start to, because they were at that time, Yahoo was undergoing some a strategic change. They want to move all people who can do product to headquarters, so they can kind of concentrate their brand power to fight those coming challenges. So they offered me this opportunity, say, why don't you come here? You can learn English faster, and then we'll do. If you're not sure, maybe you can travel first. So I kind of do this travel base. I stay in hotel for a few months, and eventually they say, why don't you just move here? And my original thinking was, maybe I'll just stay here for maybe a few months, 1 year, 2 years at most, right? Because it sounds like there are so many smart people. That probably means there's probably some opportunity here. So I can make one quick buck or two and just come back to Taiwan, living my good life, right? And little did I know, right? Major plan doesn't happen, right? As I thought, right? So my original plan was just come here, make a quick buck or two, stay 2 years and come back to my real life, my good life in Taiwan. But yeah, but
flash forward
10 years.
Yeah, flash forward more than 10 years and you're still here.
So I'm still here.
And so as you move to the US, I know a lot of the people that are joining us on our call today, they're also immigrants, and they also struggled kind of adapting to the local culture. Did you find anything challenging adapting here? Were there communities that supported you? Kind of tell us through that journey of kind of immigrating here.
Yeah, I would say I didn't prepare myself very well coming to America. It was kind of I didn't do my best on strategic planning or understand the market and assign myself out to an environment I was not familiar with, right? And also when in Taiwan, I already leading a team. So I kind of most of my work are strategic thinking, communication, coordination. But when I come to America, it's by myself, right? Although the scale is bigger, it's all world-class scale, my usage or anything that's higher scale. But in some way, it's very different working culture I never experienced before, but I wasn't prepared to do that. So I was actually very frustrated, right? As I remember the first 2 years when I first got here, 2010 to 2012, almost every night I was really close to just book a ticket and go back to Taiwan, live my good life, right? I was thinking, what am I doing here? I was so unhappy. I got so frustrated. I made no friends in the company, and I don't understand the culture. I don't even have the context, right? So I can build a rapport, right? So even though I have a team, but it just feels so very, very different from my experience in Taiwan. So I was pretty frustrated the first 2 years.
And what helped you kind of transition to become more incorporated? And when did this place feel more like home for you? Or does it not feel like home yet? Because maybe Taiwan still feels more like home for you.
Yeah, I would say now I feel, fast forward 10 years now, I feel much, much better, comfortable here. And I would say the key is I decided to take a step back and withdraw myself from corporate world to go back to campus, right? So I think at some point I decided I was really unhappy, right? I have to do something about it. And I have some money from acquisition. I have the luxury to not working at least for some period of time. And I kind of think back my life in the past, when was I feel most happy about, right? It's my time in college. I was learning and also applying my learning to building something I feel proud of. My friend are using it. I also feel proud of, right? That was something that I always like learning new things, applying learning to like practical things, make it useful for everybody. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I should go back to campus. And so I didn't know about Stanford. I only know about Harvard at that time, MIT. But by the time I decided kind of too late, like the MBA, I also decided MBA because I already got engineering degree. So, and I know a lot of, my colleagues, they sound very smart. They all came from MBA. So maybe I should go to study MBA. But by that time I decided to apply. Harvard already passed the deadline and MIT as well. So Stanford was close by. I've been to Stanford. I know it's very beautiful, right? So my wife really likes Stanford campus. I say, okay, if you maybe that sounds like a good school. You can just kind of take a step back and kind of reflect on your life, what you really want, and who do you really want to be. So I didn't know it was very hard to get in. So I did apply for Berkeley and Stanford. Eventually, I got into Stanford. I would say that experience really helped me get more comfortable with myself and get to understanding of a little bit more about the American working culture, the communication, and give me more kind of historical context and also the cultural context about how people think, how people communicate here, and also I think more importantly is being inspired by a lot of high achievers. Right, we have 400 students class. They're from all over the place, all over the world. You have people from Middle East, people from all top university all over the world, and they all want to achieve something in their life. And they just come here and hear their story, hear their challenge, hear why do they want to come here? What kind of people they want to become after school? Totally inspire me. I get actually a lot of energy from just knowing I made a lot of good friends there, and I'm still in contact with them. I still hang out with them. A lot of people end up staying here in the area. We become even lifelong friend and family friends since ever. So that really helped me a lot.
That's fantastic. And so school, and what years was this? This is what years of
2012.
2012?
Yeah, 2012 to 2014.
Got it. I think I have some friends that actually went to Stanford at that time. Do you know like an Ann Tran or like a JT, or were they part of your class?
No, it's not my class. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, probably executive. We have like executive, but I choose the full-time 2-year full-time version, which my understanding is that it probably require more drinking. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, whatever program you choose, you probably have to drink. So it doesn't really.
Yeah. That's right. That's fantastic. So you went to school, and then eventually, how did you make the leap from going from like running your own business, probably managing the product within Yahoo, to joining venture? Because there's a little bit of commonality, but that's a pretty big switch.
Yeah, I turned to the evil side. That's how people call it. Yeah, so
the buy side. No.
Yeah, so that's another. I would say, a lot of time I just feel very fortunate. I happen to be in the right place at the right time, right? So when I sold my company to Yahoo, Jeng was a CEO at that time, right? So I guess my name became kind of on his radar. So and right after acquisition, he was visiting Taiwan. We had a breakfast, and after coming here, he still remembered me. So he invited me to, he brought me to lunch a few times, right? Just asking me how I was doing, am I adjusting right? So, and when I was applying for, and I didn't know about his involvement in the community outside of Yahoo at all. I didn't know anything. So my colleagues told me that when I shared my plan with my colleagues, they told me, oh, do you know Jerry is on the board of trustee of Stanford? I said, yeah. So how is that related to my applying? He said, you know him, you had lunch with him. Maybe you should ask him to write you the recommendation later. I say, what, does that work? We are not that close, right? He just had a courtesy lunch with me. But why not, right? Just give it a try. Whatever that can get me to Stanford. So I just asked him out of blue, I'm applying to Stanford. Would you help me kind of write this recommendation letter. And to my surprise, right, he said yes. So he kind of wrote me a recommendation, which definitely helped because I didn't ask anyone to help. I didn't ask him to write recommendation letter for Berkeley. I didn't get in Berkeley. I was on backlog. I was on waitlist, right? But Stanford, I'm not on waitlist. I'm like one of the 400 original ones. Yeah, so that recommendation really helped. Right? That's a difference. So after I got admitted, so I kind of like, oh, maybe let me bring some small gift, kind of show my appreciation. So he kind of asked me what's my plan, like going to Stanford, what I'm gonna do after. So at that time I was thinking about, what I really want to do is I want to leverage my time here in America, learning as much as I can, learning many things I didn't see before in Taiwan. And hopefully when I go back to Taiwan, I have something to contribute, right? So one thing, I have the experience starting company, but here is totally different level. And one thing I feel I didn't see a lot of is early stage investment, right? Venture capital. But Taiwan has some venture capital, but at that time it was focused more on semiconductor, also later stage, right? So here you have a lot of early stage investment, a lot of angel investors, and also like seed fund, like Sequoia was still doing seed stage investment at that point. There are just a lot of early stage fund, which I didn't see in Taiwan, and apparently Bay Area has been doing that for a few decades, right? And 5 decades, 6 decades already, right? So I was kind of fascinated by that. So I told Jerry, I really want to learn about the VC industry, and I have a hypothesis. It might be the connecting dots for all the kind of innovation here. So I want to get into it. So instantly he was thinking about leaving Yahoo and starting his own VC firm, which is Amical Venture. So he said, "Do you know I'm starting a VC firm?" So I didn't know that. So he said, "Maybe you can consider joining me, and we can all learn together." Right? So why not? So I just interned for him in 2013. I ended up liking it so much. That was the first time I work very closely with a billionaire, and not just typical billionaire. He's a very special person, I would say. The way he communicates, the way he thinks about people, the way he thinks about investment, the way he thinks about how to coach next generation founders, like totally eye-opening experience for me. So I mean, I have no other choice. I just have to return. This is like, if I really want to learn, this is the best opportunity I ever have. Like learning just by his side, it's just total eye-opening for me.
That's amazing. I mean, like it's such a happenstance. It just happened at that right time.
Yeah.
It became that path forward. That's really amazing.
Yeah. It just happened like we were living around the same time. We both get frustrated enough by Yahoo, and we were thinking about starting, and we were thinking about going to investment. Yeah. And he already has some, of course, successful experience, investing his own startup, investing in Alibaba, but like early stage, that's totally new to us.
So now that you've been in the venture side for almost 10 years now, so you're getting like 8 years in now, right?
Yeah.
Now that you know all this information, how would you have done Wretch.cc differently? I'm just really curious on that.
I wouldn't, if I was an investor, I wouldn't invest in Wretch.cc. I wouldn't invest in myself. Not a chance, right? It's like total naive student, have no. It just starting, maybe spark some opportunity because it's overlooked, right? But like no way. The only thing I had is passion, right? So if I were doing it again right now, I'll probably aim something higher, right? And also because by aiming higher, you will think of your organization, you will think the time horizon will be very different, right? You start from thinking about maybe this should be a global business. Then you hire different people, right? You will focus on, yes, there's a day-to-day operation problem, but you will think about how internet is always a global company, right? There's no way it can be local, right? So which is what happened today, right? All the companies global, all the internet companies global company. There's no, unless you're in China, otherwise it has to be global. So I'll probably think about the scale differently, and maybe thinking about more investment rather than grabbing the market so early on, and thinking about monetization so early on. Maybe thinking about more about like, can you bring the impact to a higher level and maybe my starting team will be different. I'll probably hire more like skilled professional rather than just people like me, all geeky and nerdy. Yeah, which is good for engineering, but in terms of long-term thinking, you definitely, I mean, in some way, like experience help. Maybe I'll bring some like professional investor. They can bring some synergy. They can help me to bridge other people who have been there and done that, and maybe so I don't have to make so many mistakes. I can learn from them, learn from the experience because a lot of people have done it before. And I was at that time, I was kind of like try and error by myself, which takes a lot of time and money.
It's always hindsight 2020, right? It's like,
yeah,
I could have done this, but and then it's always funny because without those experiences, we wouldn't have been where we are today, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So today, now you've been in the venture world for 8 years. You've been able to deploy capital for, let's say, 7, 8 years now. You're starting to finally see some of the returns of the capital. So the original theses are starting to validate itself via exits through monetization. How are you thinking about the portfolio today? And what are you interested in the next 10 years now? Like, because you guys are always investing so far out to think about the future. How are you thinking about it these days?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. So also, I think we are also unique because when we started, we thought we're going to do a lot of cloud computing. That's why there's a cloud in the name, Army Cloud Ventures. And because we saw, what cloud has done internet with, and when now we don't see that happening in a lot of, other verticals, other industry like healthcare, and we kind of expand from there. We kind of evolve from there. We start to see there's a gap between internet and other industry, right? For example, machine learning eventually become AI, right? So we already use that in internet advertisement for almost a decade, right? And we went out, other industry are still kind of lag behind. They don't even know big data, right? So we saw, there's a information gap there. So our original idea was kind of bring this gap, like, kind of narrow the gap. So try to create a data ecosystem in every other vertical we go to when we feel the inflection point is right. So we go to for example, aerospace. We started investing satellites in probably in 2014, 2015, around that year, because before that, it was pretty popular, kind of like internet early stage, right? It was from public funding and then start to do privatization. And we see there's opportunity, right? If we get more sensors, then we can get more data. If we get more data, then we have more privatization opportunity and more interesting ideas. So we start to invest in what we call sensor business, which is satellite. And when we go in, we usually go in as a cluster, right? We're not just like one company. We try to invest in a cluster so they can learn from each other. They can create some synergy, hopefully. Yeah, the same idea for other industries. We went to autonomous driving. Because at that time people start to collect data and try to do this thing. We also invest in robotics, right? So the angle we came in is that we are not hardware guy, we are internet guy. We know data, we know how autonomous work, but we feel there's an inflection point. If you can apply AI to dumb machine, dumb robots, dumb like robotics, then it becomes smart robot, right? It can do really helping automation in factory, in warehouse, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like our idea. Like the way we go to frontier is not like just, we don't understand something, we go there. No, it's like we have a hub, like we go one vertical to each other. And these days I focus a lot on healthcare because healthcare, of course, is a very big domain. So it's kind of, it has a lot of vertical. There's a diagnosis, there's a drug discovery, there's a mental health problem, right? And this is very different. I wouldn't think about this in Taiwan because Taiwan has a like national insurance. So the problem is all covered by the government in some way. But here, I just realized healthcare is a big problem. And a lot of money has thrown to the industry, but the problem hasn't been solved, right? If all the way to like early stage diagnosis, to cancer, drug discovery, to pricing, to this, especially in the past 2 years, a lot of problem from mental health. So I just realized actually this is whatever public sector cannot solve, it's such a good opportunity for private sectors, right? That's where we can leverage our expertise in resource allocation. We can hopefully invest in early stage money in those like problem solvers, and they can help solve the problem, right? So we start to invest in, so for example, we have AI in diagnosis that can read CT scans in 5 minutes rather than 4 hours. So that turns a stroke patient from paralyzed being, fully cured, that kind of stuff. And also investing a lot of kind of early stage drug discovery company leveraging AI to like genomics, using CRISPR to do diagnostics or even to do immunotherapies. So we have been, healthcare has been, and also like surgical robots. Think about, we bring robotics from warehouse to inside your body, and that can perform procedure. Still not 100%, but at least 90% automated, right? So inside your body, so you get more consistent, better quality of procedure. So I would say healthcare is a deep ocean, right? We're still digging, we're still kind of exploring, and it's a big part. It's not just one part, it's so many problems at so many different levels. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity for innovations here.
So healthcare is now the focus. So it sounds like you've deprioritized some other areas. So what kind of hypothesis did you kind of like think about in like 2013, 2014? You're like, this is going to be big, this is going to be amazing. And man, it proved out wrong. Like what has been proven wrong in the past?
That's a very good question. So I wouldn't say deprioritize. It's just a lot of time, early stage investment only have a very narrow window, right? So it came from a lot of deep research, right? It's not quite eligible for monetization because the cost is too high and there's no way you can monetize that technology. At some point, very small window, sometimes big, sometimes small, it has this kind of chasm. Like if you give it some investment, it reach a critical mass, then you can reach a point of self-sustainable, right? So early stage investment, seed stage series has maybe 1 year or 2 year window on average. So we have to catch that window. So if you pass a window, it becomes a scalability game. Then other people who have more money, like later stage fund, they can still come and do investment, but it's just not our game because we only have 3 people, Jerry himself, myself, and 1 colleague, that's all. So we have to do things very nimble. We have to catch this early stage window. So a lot of the time it's not deployed, it's like we don't have to invest more capital because you already passed that inflection point that can create the most kind of bang for the bucks, right?
Well, that's really, like when you frame it that way, that's a really interesting perspective because I've actually never thought of it in that way. But in that one window of timing, you need to, the market is starting to shift or starting to open up.
Yeah.
You need to find the right team that can execute on that strategy and be a big part of it. Because if you miss that window, someone else is taking the market share or someone else is outfunding you or someone has a better thesis there and it's over. So then how do you continue to identify new markets? Because that seems like a really important part, right? Because if the window is so short, you need to keep that pipeline open to be able to keep increasing the funnel.
Yeah, that's a lot of tuition, I would say. It's so that's kind of how we position ourselves. We treat us like students of investing, I guess. So we always come to a meeting kind of half empty, half full, right? We came from internet. We understand data, the value of data, how you can monetize data, but we always keep ourselves humble and try to learn from different perspectives. That's how we got into, we know AI, but we don't know how FDA works, right? At least initially. So we learn a lot we know AI can be used in reading, CT scan imaging. We know technology, how it works, but we don't know if FDA can appreciate that or not. We don't know if hospital can buy it or not, right? So we have to learn that in order to get it. Once we learn that, we know like, oh, this is kind of save costs for hospital. Actually, not only saving costs, but also making money for hospitals. They're gonna like it, right? So we kind of come in based on what we know, and we learn the other half, like what we don't know. And we feel if it makes sense to apply this technology right now in this market dynamics, then we kind of we learn and then we become comfortable enough in the market, and then we kind of just hop to that. So again, for robotics, right? So before we got into surgical robot, we already know AI, and then we learn hardware. We know robotics arm, right? We take a lot of. Actually, we also go back to Stanford to take some like a mechanical online classes, right? Try to learn the mechanical part of it, what's the heat gonna be generated? How do you manage the heat problem generated by those mechanical movements, right? And where do you install server? Do you have to be over the cloud, over the air update, or do you have to be on premise? And also warehouse is very huge, right? How do you manage this like Wi-Fi problem? Totally different from data center. So we have to learn that, right? The very different setup. After that, we learn how like mechanical works. We get ourselves comfortable with robotics. Now, a surgical robot company come, we understand. Okay, if this work for industrial, then it might work for operation room setup. We just have to learn. And we also understand a little bit about FDA process by then. So we kind of combine all our past learnings, kind of like your college. It's kind of how you plan every year. How do you choose the electives, right?
Yeah.
You have this fundamental calculus and linear algebra, and once you learn that, you can learn the next level thing. And once you learn that, build on top of that, you can keep learning.
Yeah, I love the perspective of keeping your mind open, because as you're compounding this, what potentially was invalidated in the past could be actually revalidated because the market situation or something has changed that could actually reopen it. So even though it may have been a no in the past, it could be a yes in the future. And so keeping that mindset open, that is very, very, very tough.
Yeah, it is very tough. So we still, a lot of time. That's why Jerry stay on the board with Stanford trustee, because that's our excuse. We can talk to professors and keep learning. What's the latest with the technology, and so it's been pretty rewarding. We really like it. Like we still learn every day by talking to smart people, and that's how we try to keep ourselves on the frontier.
That's fantastic. So I want to switch topics a little bit. Like, you're always so busy, finding new deals, doing that research. How do you manage this work-life balance? I know you got young kids, right? Like, how do you allocate that time?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I have two kids. They're still very little. One's almost 7. One is 5. So when I start to have kids, or maybe before that, I always kind of set my goal is that I want to set it. I don't want to have a balanced life between work and family, work and kids. Because I was raised by a single mother. So when growing up, I also have this question, right? No, I can never find answers. Like, my mom is a very good good role model for me already. So she worked very hard. She raised 2 kids by herself, and she has a very good work ethic. And she's also very smart. But I also have this question, like, when making a big decision, if my father was here, what would he say, right? What would he say if I decided to study computer science rather than WE? What would he say to me, right? What would he say if I choose Jiao Tong University over NTU, which is considered superior? What would he say, right? What would he say if I want to postpone my study and go to start a business? What would he say? What would be? I always have this like imagination of fatherly figure that can provide a different perspective, right? But I never have that opportunity until I have kids. So I kind of set my goal is like, I want to figure out how I will answer to this kind of questions. So I want to be present. I want them to come to me when they have I might not have answers. These days is very hard, right? Information overflow something. But I want to make sure if they want to find somebody they can trust, they want to bounce their idea, they will have at least 2 sources. One is their mother, one is their father, right? Like they don't have to feel being judged or like embarrassment. They can feel very freely, exchange idea, use me as a sounding board. That was my goal. Yeah. And I was also very inspired by a lot of busy people who are busier than me. They are also doing this very well, right? For example, I just read the biography of Obama. Apparently, he also spent a lot of time coaching his daughters. Besides rare occasion, national security meeting, he always go back to, he usually have dinner with his family every night. Pretty impressive. Yeah, so I compared to a lot of more successful people, I don't think I'm not that busy. So I'm trying to be here, like just being present And I think this is also a luxury of being an investor. We have this kind of flexibility, right? We can get up early, do our work, and then we can be there when they need it, right? So you can always make time. So as long as you kind of make sure that's what you really want, right? You want to learn in your career, but you also want to be present when your family needs you.
So it sounds like you're essentially identifying the value system that you want to have within the family, and you're taking these principles and then applying them, whether it's like dinner every night or some kind of cadence in there where you can say, I value this, and thereby we're going to have these blocks of time or this type of investment with my family. And then you make sure that the family is also aware of it.
Yeah. And that, of course, it sounds easy, but it's actually just a lot of trade-off, right? If once you set your priority, you know what's not important to you. So I cut off a lot of TV watching, right? So I haven't watched TV shows for many years. I haven't played video games for many years, right? But those can come back, right? Eventually, when I become an empty nester, I can catch up on TV shows, right? So those things can wait, right? They'll be on the cloud forever, hopefully. But kids only growing up once, right? So I want to make sure be present there when they need it. So I make sure those are my current priority. And like you said, there's a value system, and based on those value systems, I can make trade-offs. And those are trade-offs I feel comfortable with.
I think what I often see with a lot with like younger folk, that the problem with trade-offs is like they also often struggle with trade-offs. Like, I want everything, right? You hear that a lot from like younger people, like, I want everything. And I always wonder, like, how do you get that discipline to manage that trade-off? Like is investing helping you? Because you're like, hey, I need to manage a portfolio. There's got to be trade-offs. I only have so many dollars, so I got to be good at selecting where I go. Like, how did you get that discipline to manage the trade-offs? I'm really curious.
I don't know. Maybe I learned that from playing video games. Like I said earlier, right? The games I like is about, even StarCraft is about investing and kind of harvesting so you have to think about what kind of game before you go into play. You gotta do a fast game or you gotta do a long-term game, right? So you gotta play defense first and invest in the long-term technology, right? That kind of stuff. So I was always fascinated by those stuff. And also VC is a very interesting investment environment because, like you say, the cycle is so long, right? So we only started to see our gains from the investment in 2014. That takes 8 years. So you have to think about this like a resources allocation. It gives you a different time horizon, right? So once you have that, that's what I would say to 10 years myself before, right? If you think about things from a different time horizon, it will give you different perspectives. All of a sudden, the priority of different things will become more clear to you if you have this kind of time horizon. So that part, but a lot of time, especially family time, I don't think about it as an investment because no way it will be the worst investment if you think about ROI, right? And it's unpredictable, and you have no other alternative. There's no backup, right? Only you can do it. So to me, family is more like it's just a mission. It just I never had this experience before. You can say it's kind of like making up, or I also feel like through my kids, I got a chance to relive my life, right? When I was a kid, I missed this thing, I missed that thing, but through their eyes, I can see, wow, there's a different way to live it. I'm happy for them. Yeah, and I'll be there to be their mirrors, to be their safety net or whatever they want to be, and just by a bystander, just by their side, is already very rewarding. So it's not just ROI, just by being there, it's already a lot of pressure, it's very rewarding to me already. It doesn't need any other returns.
Definitely, I'm a new father as well, right? So my son Thatcher, he's 1 year old now, and it has been amazing. And I don't purport to have everything figured out. All I know is, man, I have a great time hanging out with him, and he's just an amazing. And it really does change your perspective of what is important in life. And I really love your point of like, you just have to allocate appropriately, right? There's trade-offs, and we all have to face those trade-offs. So I do want to jump to open Q&A. So I know there's a few people on the call right now. I would love for us to be able to answer some questions for you, or have Wretch here answer some of your questions. So if you have an opportunity, either raise your hand in chat or put it into the Q&A, and then we'll get those answered. but I have a few more like technical questions or like little other questions that I've kind of seeded here. So I'm a big supporter of kind of our Eastern Asian community, and I think we're underrepresented, right? So we're underrepresented in leadership and politics, and I'd love to kind of get your thoughts from an investor standpoint. How do you think we can kind of seed something to solve this longer duration? Like, any thoughts on this problem set?
Yeah, so it's actually very interesting you brought this question. So my perspective is a little bit, I would say a little bit different, right? Because I spent most of my time in Taiwan before coming to America. So when I come to this, I think this problem, like I wouldn't think about this problem when I was in Taiwan, because most of people in Taiwan are Eastern Asians, right? 99.9%, right? And we wouldn't think about underrepresented. You can be anything, right? You can be anything you want. You can be Jade, right? You can be a very top musician. You can be an engineer. You can be a politician. You can be a journalist. You can be anyone you want, and you won't be impacted by your skin color, your race. I only see this stereotype after I come to America. I start to see like, oh, there's a model minority, right? So Eastern Asians, Chinese or Indian, they must be like work very hard. They must be very good at math, and they are not they don't complain a lot, right? So when you speak up for yourself, that's actually one of my culture shock is that every time I speak for myself, people kind of have this like shock face or surprise face. So every time you speak for yourself, you have to overcome this surprise face and to let them know that actually this is normal, right? That when we were in Taiwan, I did this all the time. So I started thinking, why do we have this kind of like model minority stereotype in America, right? So I started to go back, and then you realize, oh, because there's a historical reason, because politicians and media kind of start this model minority because to fight this other problem minority, right? So it was used as a tool for political, and there's a lot of reason can explain that. There's one way to argue. It's about from historical reason, and you can also argue because by the time when America opened the immigration door, like they selectively prioritize those people who has special skills in STEAM domains, right? And then from there you can say, oh yeah, so Eastern Asians are better than the math, and therefore they are probably not fitting into, again, another stereotype of leaders. So when we were in Taiwan, you can be any kind of leader, right? You don't have to speak up, you don't have to be loud, but you can be a good leader. You can still make a very good decision for your group by making a good decision, not by speaking for yourself, right? So in Taiwan, we see or even in China, right? We see a lot of different kind of investors. But I think here, for a lot of reasons, people start to have this box of, oh, this is what leaders should like. White, male, speak very loud, stand very tall, right? And on the other side, you have this model minority, which is working very hard, very good at math, and then non-compliant. And then, and so they have this kind of model minorities box, right? So whenever you want to go outside of this box, you have to overcome this obstacle, right? So I think that's, and the sad thing is a lot of Asians, even ourselves, buy into that box. They're happy to be, I see a lot of my friends, they're happy to buy in this model minority, right? They think it's a good thing. But I think also maybe to some person it's a good thing, but to a group it's not, right? If you want to do something outside of the box, it'll be actually harder as an Asian American. It'll be harder in America than in Asia, right? Because Asia, you don't have those box, right? For example, you have to become an accountant before you can star in a Marvel movie, right? Like Liu Simu, right? Does Robert Downey Jr. has to become an accountant before he can start a Marvel movie, because he can start Iron Man? No, he doesn't have to, because he doesn't have those parts. So of course, there are a lot of ways you can argue this, but I think the most important thing is you have to understand where those biases come from, right? A lot of time you have to my study, right, there's a lot of historical reasons, and you have to recognize, the first step is you have to recognize those are stereotypes. because at the end of the world, we are just human beings. Yeah, we have different skin color, we have different origins. Maybe our grandfather or grandmother came from different countries, our father came from different country, but we should be able to become anyone you want if you put an effort to it. Just like how people did it in Asia, in China, in Taiwan. You should be able to be anyone, and you should be content by this, stereotype box, because those are overgeneralization, right? So that's the first thing I think people should understand. There are bots created by, still these days, right? Even within white group, for voting reason, for election reason, they're creating bots for different group of people, which is totally unnecessary. So I think the first thing is you have to understand there are boxes be put on to us, and those are unnecessary, and you have to recognize those biases.
That's great. I love that. I love that perspective. So acknowledgement and identification first, before then we can then start making progress against it.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So we do have a question. Maybe Fred, I know you're asking a question. Instead of me asking it to Wretch, I'd love to bring you onto video here if possible. Helen, are you able to do that for us? To bring him onto the panel here so he can ask his question?
Yes, I think so. Fred, let me see. Promote to panelist.
Yeah, love
There you
to.
go.
All right, let's see if Fred can come on. Fred, you've just been requested. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, he needs to accept.
We'll see.
I already
Fred, are you there?
invite.
Okay, well, if he joins, we'll let him speak a little bit. But Fred's first question is, what do you see the future of the tech industry in Taiwan? So like, how do you look at tech in Taiwan, and how would you maybe let's put it in a perspective of like a founder. So if a founder were to start a business, how would you look at that?
Yeah. So interestingly, so because of COVID, I got an opportunity to go back to Taiwan and live there for the best part of first half of last year. So I got to see kind of what Taiwan is doing right now, and actually, to my surprise, Taiwan has been doing very, very well in the past 10 years since I was not there. I guess that's why, because I was not there, things were doing well, of course, right? Since then, I think Taiwan has paid a lot of attention to early stage funding, the overall ecosystem. It's more, the whole society is more, it's more welcome to those like early stage environment. So for example, when I started my company, I was considered like very controversial, right? My friends would come to me, my professor, advisor would come to me and say, "You're doing this suicide, right? You're about to graduate, you get your degree, you go to work for TSMC. That's just a backup. You may work for T-Tech, right? Media Tech, right? TSMC is already a backup. What are you thinking? That you're going to start a company, that's a career suicide." So the overall attitude towards starting company, at least when I was starting my company, was pretty negative. Versus here, you start a company, fail, no big deal at all. You can go back to Facebook, you go back to Google. You can still put your fail startup experience even on your LinkedIn profile, and people see that as a legit experiment, right? I didn't see that 10 years ago in Taiwan, but now I think people start to appreciate that. Like starting a company is actually not a big deal. It's actually kind of cool, right? It's acceptable, right? And it's actually legitimate career choice. So I have a lot of hope for Taiwan. I think starting from that attitude, right? Starting a company is totally normal. Maybe it's not a majority, right? Some people, they can always try to start a company because they see there's a market need and they're gonna take some risk. If they fail, right? They can always go back to corporate world. No big deal at all. It's not like you do something unethical or something. It's just part of the career. And even no matter you succeed or fail, you always learn something. That's the most important thing. I think Taiwan start to have that. The whole overall society start to have that attitude, which I think is very important. It remove another obstacle I had to overcome when I was starting my company.
Got it. So you're pretty bullish on the whole space. Fred has been able to join us on the panel, but apparently he's on the web version, so he can't speak. So I'll speak for him on some of these things, but it's good. So you're bullish on technology. in Taiwan. It seems like there's more funding going to early stages. So you think that there's going to be some really good advancements out of there coming in the future?
Wow, that I think that's maybe more like $1 billion, question. But Taiwan has been actually, if you think about border tech environment, right, including semiconductor, Taiwan has been and still doing very well, right? So the kind of pro semiconductor manufacturing still accounts more than 30% of GDP in Taiwan. So those are tech. Those are we shouldn't discount that, right? I think the question Taiwan trying to figure out is like, can we build on top of the semiconductor industry, which already dominate the global in the industry? Can we leverage what we already have and figure out what's our next, right? Can we leverage our semiconductor strength to say build a next robotics, to build next advanced manufacturing, to build next aerospace industry, to build basically next TSMC? Where is our next TSMC? So that's a question I think Taiwan trying to answer. But I would say overall tech, Taiwan has been actually one of the most innovative countries. So we shouldn't discount that. We shouldn't discount TSMC still dominating the semiconductor manufacturing. But on top of that, we have a lot of IC design. Like those we already have, and we have that for the past 30 years. The question is, you can say greedy or like you always want to improve yourself. Can we be better, right? If we want to be better, how can we be better? How can we leverage what we have and then become better? I think we already have a very good starting point, and with the attitude change, with a more welcoming environment, I think there are a lot of answers we are trying to experiment right now. I think we can find it.
Fantastic. So we have a question from Zon. Zon, you're on our panel now. If you want to turn on your camera, that'd be great so we can see who you are. Fred, we're going to push you back into the audience space. Thank you so much for your question, Fred.
Hello.
Zon?
Are you able to hear me? All right.
We can hear you, but we can't see you. Don't be shy.
I can't seem to turn on the camera. It doesn't seem to be available, but I think that's okay.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
It's a pleasure to learn from you today, Wretch. I had a question. So I'm about a year or two into my career right now, and had a question regarding sort of, are there any lessons that you apply in your career today that were very counterintuitive when you were first starting out in your career? Thank you so much.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. So very counterintuitive. I guess starting a company is already, as a first job, is already very counterintuitive. I would say second thing is like you always, it's probably not counterintuitive because a lot of people do that. Because, but the way I think about it is like career is actually not always linear. A lot of people when they think about career, they always think about, oh, can I get a promotion next year? Can I get a salary increase next year, right? But the way I see, especially people here, right, you think about their career, it's actually, they went through a lot of downside. Even startups, I learned it from a lot of startups actually. You have to take this kind of like investment period before you can really jump higher or leapfrog, right? So the way I would think about the career is, again, from an investment, long-term investor point of view, you have to think about the whole game. 10 years from now, what do you want to do? Who you want to be? And from that, you kind of plan your path forward. And it might require some investment. So it might require go back to school. It might require you take you take a sabbatical. So you can actually learn or research some topic you really want to focus on and become a domain expert. And when you come back, you have a better energy, you have a better understanding about the long-term goal here. So maybe not counterintuitive, but I would say take your career planning not as a linear progression, but rather as a goal-setting approach, right? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? What will I come out 10 years from now? And think about all the things that's required to achieve your goal. That will probably require a few promotion, but that also require become, the domain expert in things you want to do and require some investment and maybe all the things you might need to do outside the company. outside the corporate ladder, right? Outside the private company structure, right? So you should take all the resources you can to help achieve that goal. So something I would give the advice to people who just come into their career right now, rather than thinking about or feel like peer pressure about, oh, should I get promotion or not, or like, oh, my friend get promotion. Think about it more from a long-term perspective.
I want to kind of like expand on that kind of comment. So there's a few things there that I think it's interesting. So this linear versus non-linear, and I completely agree. Like I have done quite a few interviews like this and met great people like yourselves, and everyone tells me when they were young, they had no idea where they would be today. It is not like a direct path, like very few. If it may be a doctor will see it that way, an accountant, maybe a lawyer, right? Very linear, you could get there, but everyone else, like very rarely is it linear. You touched earlier upon in our interview, this idea of, man, you really hated your job for a while. And like something happened, just like, this is a grind. I hated it. I needed a reset. And I wanted to, and you reflected back on your past and you said like, wow, I got a lot of passion in these areas.
Yeah.
So as you think about that, and I know a lot of like Asian parents always say, no, don't do your passion, be an engineer, be an accountant, do the safe thing, right? So how do you kind of think about that for your children's future, or maybe people like Zon who's early in their career? Like, how much weight do you say put on your passion versus something pragmatic, and how should they think about it?
Yeah, so that's a very good extension of that question. So I would say, kind of jokingly, maybe this is a benefit of not having a father, because I won't be advised to stay in my job, right? So I kind of have the freedom to really try different ways I want to try, and just bring myself back to where I want to be. So realizing that, I think the way I will kind of be to knowing that having the freedom, at least a little bit freedom, and I feel safe to try different things, give me the opportunity to really explore myself, and also do some soul searching, I think, which is very valuable. What I would do with my kids is that, especially these days, that information overflow, right? There's no way you can know the answers. You can figure out the answers for your kids. There's no way you can do that, because it's like my kids, even they are 7, they are 5, they don't have cell phone. If they ask me some question I don't understand, they will say, why don't you look it up on your phone, right? If we see something like on the store and or see something their friend they have and they don't have a cell phone, they'll ask me because I am their cell phone. They'll say, why don't you order on Amazon, right? So even at this age, before having a phone, they already know they can do what kind of information they can get from the internet. So there's no way we can really provide all the paths, or lay out all the paths for them, right? So I think the best idea you can have for your kids is like, you help them build their own value system and figure out what's the most safe way or most efficient way to build their value system. And also you give them this trust, so they can know how, with their value system, no matter what kind of information come in, you have the trust, you believe they can make the best decision for self. And sometimes that might be take a step back, right? Even from external point of view, that might be a step back, right? That might be not linear, but that's what they need, right? They have to go to explore those spaces, figure out who they really want, find their passion back, right? Only when they have that value system, you can really feel comfortable, let them go. Let them be bombarded by all the information. Maybe some of them are fake, right? But you will be worry-free, because they have a good value system. They can consume and prioritize, and also figuring out what's good information for me, what's bad information for me, and they can really decide and be independent and make decisions for themselves. That will be my goal, right? So really install this right value system then, so you don't have to you can be an efficient father at that point. You don't have to filter all the information. You just let them decide by themselves, be independent. That will be my goal.
Yeah, you're setting first principles, right? Help shape the decision-making engine so they can make their own decisions.
Yeah. Even that decision engine might be evolving for them. So maybe you have to take even a step back. Is help them figure out how to build your value system. Because these days, a lot of time, because so many information on internet, a lot of people don't even know they need a decision, they need a value system in their mind. They don't even have a value system. They were really movable by all the information, right? Because they don't know you should have a value system so that it'll be easier for you, more efficient for you to digest all the information coming in. If you have a value system, you can also tweak your value system based on all the information, right? So a lot of people don't know. So maybe the first thing is to, at least my goal will be help my kids figure out a way they can build their value system. They can also adjust their value system based on different inputs they will get either from their teacher, from their friends, which will totally different from the input I give them.
That's right. And this is where I actually think really ironically is where playing computer games when you're younger actually helps, because we are bombarded with lots of input all the time, right? Because like let's say you're playing a strategy game, there's so many different things coming at you, but there's only few decisions that you need to make. And that has to be based on some kind of distillation of how the world works or how the game is working. And so I'm a really big fan. So when I was growing up, I played a lot of StarCraft. So like a lot of, I think the quick paced decision making comes from that as well.
I like more excuse for me to go back to video games. I really, I'll take that to my wife, and hopefully I'll come back to video games soon.
So we got a question from Maggie. Maggie, I've just requested you to also join our panel as well. If you could join, are you there, Maggie? There she is. Maggie, you want to come on camera and join us a little bit? You're on mute, by the way. Maggie, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. You want to ask your question?
Yes. Hi. Sorry, I actually in Taiwan right now and then enjoy my morning coffee. So not ready to be on camera. You understand that. So so Wretch, you just mentioned about how treasure the time you with your kids, and then that's really a once in your lifetime to see them grow. And then but the challenge the young family they are facing, how you limit, I probably won't use the word for limit, but your strategy to handle the kids' screen time.
Yeah, that's I guess I'm still in the early stage of screen time problem. So later when they have their own devices, it might be a different answer. But for now, and also like this is how I experience myself, right? I'm very heavy user of all the electronic devices. I have to be on the phone all the time. Because I have to be connected all the time. But the way I found myself, how do I limit my own self screen time is find something that's even more interest to do outside of screen time, right? So I go swimming, I go, run marathons, I go outside and playing because those are more fun. I just like to do that, right? Rather than if I have a choice, I would do that all the time. So that's what I'm doing with my kids, right? Just figure out things that's more interesting. And sometimes this is actually something you can use. You might know some answer to that already because you can. A lot of times, just like we feel lazy, we turn on TV because it's easier for us, right? And we can do our own thing. But a lot of times, if we are willing to take them out, most of the time, kids love going outside, right? If you're willing to take them to parks, right, or get them, my kids like to ride skateboarding. They like to skateboard. Because of them, I also learned how to skateboard. So and it's very fun. It's very dangerous actually. Like I'm getting too old for that, but still a lot of fun. I fail a lot. But it's something like like to do, and then you participate. You kind of become the play day for that activity, right? So naturally, of course, people like to do things outside. People like to play, right? And screen time sometimes is not necessarily negative if you choose it carefully. But I think the best way is like everything you have to consume, just like eating, just like a diet. Everything you want to consume in moderation, right? I think a little bit screen time is actually good, right? Give you some stimulus, right? But life has a lot of things to offer, right? You have skateboarding, you have swimming, you have hiking, or you have parks, now you have play days, or you have a lot of things. If you want to put effort to it, you will figure out something fun to do. Just like when we were kids, we figure out things to do, right? We don't just sit and watch TV all day long. We figure out something more fun to do, right? We go goofy with our friends, that kind of stuff, right? But now, early stage for my kids is that you have to lead the way and let them understand there are a lot of things that's fun to do. And if they don't believe it, you bring it out once, right? They'll love it.
Great. So we have one final question from Fred before we wrap up here. So someone that recently moved to the US and is working in the tech industry, but is not a technical role. Any advice for non-technical people being in Silicon Valley?
Good luck. No, just kidding. I would say every person is different, so there's no one formula, right? Just like if you ask me how to pick the successful company, there's no one formula, right? You have to figure out your background, who you want to be, what's your goal, and then and what do you need to succeed, and you don't have it right now, and where can you get it? So I would say for anyone, even though you're already in your career, it's always good to do some reflection, right? Think about why you want to come here for in the beginning, and what do you want to achieve? What's your timeline, and what are you missing? And get some more data, right? Is your goal realistic, right? You can get some input, get some sounding board, talk to your friends, and actually you should increase the source of input so you won't be diverse, like with the modern minority problem we talked about before, right? You should not just talk to your friends from Taiwan. Try to make friends from other different backgrounds, right? Try to make friends from Black community, Mexican community, Latino community, right? This is actually the most of the experience I treasure a lot when I was in Stanford. Every time I have an idea, I got so many different backgrounds. You will learn always something new from people you never seen before. This is a benefit, and the benefit we have here because we have the diversity. You can always get different perspective, and which might change your mind or might surprise you, and at least you learn something. So get some more inputs, make some new friends, make more connection, get you comfortable, and during weekend get outside, go to nature and get a bit balanced life.
Well, Wretch, I want to thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday evening here. We really appreciate your time. I know you're really busy, and thank you so much. Everyone here, I know I learned a ton from this fireside chat, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing you in person soon and grabbing a coffee or grabbing a drink. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today as well. This video is recorded and we will post it on our YouTube and our website shortly afterwards. And thank you again for all your time and your ongoing support. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, David. I really enjoy it. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
All right. Bye.